Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of Eye on Port. This program is proudly brought to you by Serene Insurance, Gold Company Limited, the Ghana Revenue Authority, Ghana Akufo-Addo operators of the Integrated Customs Management System, and Meridian Port Services. This show is also powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Our proud media partner is the Business and Financial Times. This week, we are discussing the enforcement of safety regulations on fishing vessels to meet international standards. And we had in the studios two experts to have this particular discussion. Let's take a listen.
There appears to be somewhat a general lack of safety in terms of vessels that go fishing at sea. What do you think is the reason?
So over the period, proper inspections and surveys were not being done. And that meant that the standard of the vessels kept going down. So, like you said, we had meetings. It wasn't like the authority, because we had a mandate, just foisted it on them. No. We started by having meetings, and we had several engagements and discussed the way forward, which we believe has brought us here. We didn't start applying the full brunt of the regulations. That would have, completely collapsed the industry. What we did was that we concentrated on, for instance, our safety and life-saving equipment first. And then we moved it on to the other aspects of the vessel safety. So, yes, the standards were low. Right now, there's a program in place that is bringing up the standards to the international level that we're talking about now.
Most vessel owners are not technical people. And so for us, what we know we need to do with the GMA is a periodic or yearly surveys. So a surveyor who they appoint for you, or somebody from the GMA himself comes to conduct a survey, one on the safety equipment, on the safety radio, and oil pollution. The surveyors come on board the vessel, inspect the vessels, draw your attention to defects. And once you meet those, or once those defects are worked on, they pass you, you then move on to the fisheries with your certificates, and then you take your fishing license. Right. That's been. When they started the recent operations, we've been exposed to a lot more that we needed to have done that we weren't even aware. Now, we are not only talking about the condition of the vessel, i.e. the safety equipment or the hull and machinery. Right. We are now focusing even on the crew. So if you like, crew welfare has become a very major issue that we will take on board seriously from next year. Something that we thought as owners of companies and as employers, we had the right to engage them. We've been taking through a lot more things. And specifically, I'm referring to the ILO CI 188, which mandates the competent authority to oversee to who you recruit, the type of training he needed to have, and all those other things. So a lot more things are being done, and I think that is the way we should go.
Yeah. So, Captain, let me come to you. When you go for these periodic inspections, what are the things that you look out for?
For instance, you will be looking at, let's say, the life raft. If a vessel were to sink, and for the fishing vessels, because of their size, they don't carry lifeboats, so they carry life raft. So you would want to check the expiration date of the life raft. The life raft contains food, water, and other things. And it has a gas cylinder that pumps it up, when opens it and pumps it up if there's distress. So that if it is not in date, if it is expired, it means that the cylinder, for instance, may not pump it up in an emergency. So, for instance, you want to check the expiry date of that. You would want to check the state of the other life-saving equipment.
if you know how traditionally fishing vessels have operated, fishing vessel operation is not like the cargo where you take a consignment and you only go to a destination to deliver and you come back or go somewhere. A lot of activities happen on the vessel. So somebody is throwing a net, they are pulling this in, and by the very nature of fishing, you need to keep an eye on the vessel. Otherwise, you drift into this state.
Right.
I think a combination of factors. For me, the prominent one is cost of operation now, and maybe we'll get there. This year has been particularly a very bad year. I'll give you some few stats. By the time we close this in, that is, I think, June ending. So we close it in July and August.
Yeah.
Fuel, as a, if you like, a cost component in the cost build-up, represented about 70% of the total cost, direct cost. As at end of October, it is somewhere around 85. That's how serious it has become. If something doesn't happen to fuel costs, I don't even know when we've even met the requirement, we'll be able to buy fuel.
Yes.
Now, that significantly affected our cash flow.
Right.
And for that matter, your ability to be able to raise enough revenue to do that. And I think there were a bit also, what should I use? A bit laxed. They were not whipping us like the way they are doing now. And you know, if the monies are not there and I can find a way to go and come, I'll do so till I get into this state.
Okay, Captain, we understand there's going to be the signing of an international treaty. Can you tell us about this one? What is it about? GMA is going to sign that treaty.
It should be a Cape Town agreement is what you're talking about, yeah. That's a huge topic for another day, but I'll just give you the gist of it. Statistics, and ILO is saying that over the period, almost every year, 24,000 accidents, a lot of them fatal, happen in the fishing industry.
Right.
And if you compare it to the merchant shipping industry, that's about 10 times over. So way back in 1977, the world woke up and then realized that this was not acceptable. So they sat in Spain. That's what they call the Torremolinos Agreement in Spain, 77, and then put it together. But the problem is that every convention has what we call the coming into force conditions, right? So it's not like the moment the convention is put together, it's enforced. No, there will be some conditions. And they realized 10 years after, in the 80s, that the 1977 agreement was not going to see the light of day. So in 93, they put up a protocol. They made it less stringent so that industry could buy in, flag states could buy in, and still it didn't see the light of day. So in 2012, they sat in Cape Town. There was a General Assembly, and then they sat in Cape Town and amended the protocol in relation to the Protocol 93, protocol in relation to the 77 convention to make it suitable for industry. Now, the coming into force conditions for this one is that 1 year after 22 countries with 3,600 vessels of more than 24 meters in length have signed on is when this comes into force. 1 year after that. My last check, I think last month, was that about 17 countries had signed on. So that means that we still have some 5 countries to sign on, not to talk about the number of vessels of 24 meters length
overall,
and above, that should make up the 3,600 before this can come into force. I'm sure the next question is going to be where does Ghana stand here?
Yes.
Right. Well, Ghana is underway. Probably, I should say, Ghana is making way because the president has given approval. It is right now lodged with Parliament.
Okay.
I believe that in the first quarter of next year, Parliament is going to engage GMA for us to go through it. Once they approve, it goes back to the president for his signature, and then we forward it to IMO, and then we are on board.
Okay.
I believe this will be done early part of next year because there's a commitment for that. So once this comes into force, and that's one of the good reasons why we should be doing what we are doing, then it binds you. And if you don't satisfy the conditions there, you literally are out of the market. Why I'm saying so is that you can go out there fish, all right, but then nobody will buy your fish. You don't have a market for your fish, especially for exports. And it's happened before. I'll come to that later, but it's happened before, sometime in 2013 when the whole of the tuna industry was grounded.
Right.
EU blockaded our exports. And that was when I got to know that Ghana was number 1 in Africa and number 4
In the world.
In the world. And all our exports were blockaded because we were not satisfying some conditions. It was very chaotic because you're talking about shipments already on their way out there, and then EU refused to pick them.
Right.
Yes, so if we don't do what we are doing now and get our acts right, we will end up same way in the near future. Yeah.
Are you talking about a yellow card issue?
Well, I think right now we are yellow carded, right?
Yes, yes.
So what are we doing
So
now?
we need to be very careful before we slip to red.
Yes, and then that's it. Your products are blockaded. And if we are still number 4, like he's saying, in the world, like with tuna alone, then that's a big thing. There are products I have seen that you don't find on our local market that are exported to EU. So we are really big in there. And that's why we have to get this right. Otherwise, the industry will suffer.
Let me say something to the Cape Town Agreement. There are a lot of, if you read the literature, there are a lot of conventions, protocols that regulate fisheries in various aspects. So vessel design and manufacture, crew safety, etc., and the conditions of the vessel, post-production, etc. You look at the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS 1982. You look at the IMO, that is the Cape Town Agreement, CTA 2012. You're looking at IMO International Convention on Standards and Training, a lot of them. I don't know how many of these conventions and protocols we are implementing now. I think we need a special team from the GMA to begin to look at all these things, because they are all for fisheries, and they are all crafted for the well-being of the industry. I think we should begin to domesticate some of these conventions and protocols, and do the necessary enactments to make them law, so then we can give them the right power to work with. Because if you read some of these things, the UNCLOS, the ILO work in fishing convention and all other things, if they have the mandate, or if these things are made law and they have to use them to work, I'm sure it will fast track some of these delay processes and people would comply. So maybe what we need to do is to begin to look at all these numerous, some are by FAO themselves, some are by ILO, some are by IMO. And I think we need to find a way to get all of them, domesticate them into our laws, then we can tax them to work with. Because if they are not, some are not legally binding.
Eye on Port returns after this break.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Gold Super XP Run 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Gold Super XP Run 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Gold Super XP Run 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Gold Super XP Run 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Welcome back from the break. Now, news and activities happening within the port and maritime industry next. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has commissioned a modern dry bulk terminal in the Atlantic Container Terminal at the port of Takoradi. According to the president, the two projects are indication that the government is determined to improve maritime trade and position it as a major engine of economic growth. The dry bulk terminal was developed at a cost of $86 million by the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority for the handling of manganese, clinker, bauxite, and iron ore. The phase 1 of the container terminal was developed by an indigenous engineering firm, Ibestec Ghana Limited, at a cost of $250 million. The president also cut short for the development of a floating dry dock facility for ship and rig repairs to be developed by a private entity, Prime Meridian Docks Limited, as well as the development of an oil and gas services terminal being constructed at a cost of $98 million. The dry bulk terminal has been equipped with an efficient cargo handling system to facilitate the accurate measurement of various export volumes for manganese and bauxite to check compliance. The Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Michael Luguji, said the ultra-modern dry bulk terminal would be operated by GPH staff who have been competently trained for that purpose.
This modern facility that was being built, a lot of questions were being asked whether we are going to engage some expert trades to come and run it or we can do it ourselves. Your Excellency, I'm very proud to inform you that this entire facility will be run by GPHA staff. And they have been competently trained and they are highly motivated to ensure that it works. And indeed, our expectation is also that when the oil and gas services terminal is completed, GPHA will 100% run that facility as well. So we are really grateful for the encouragement we've received and the support in terms of finances for us to develop these facilities.
The Western Regional Minister, Commissioner Dankwa, said the port of Takoradi has been a major propeller of economic activities in the Takoradi metropolis.
Shipping lines can no longer have any excuse concerning draft limitation in calling at the Takoradi port. In fact, there is no congestion in the Takoradi port.
The Minister of Transport, Akufo-Addo, commended the President for supporting the ministry in its initiative to introduce local participation in ports development.
The President will always create the enabling environment first and foremost for the Ghanaians indigenous men who are prepared to take advantage of his vision. The vision of making the Ghanaian competitive. Believing in it that the Ghanaian has the capacity to compete in any world.
President Akufo-Addo said the ongoing expansion and transformation of the port of Takoradi was testament to the overarching objective of expanding the country's economy while boosting regional international trade.
Benefits of these projects are considerable. The enhanced cargo and container handling capacity of the port will trigger improved service delivery and lower tariffs to the advantage of the Ghanaian and West African economies. It will ultimately ensure a competitive environment for maritime trade. I assure you, the government will continue to put in place measures and incentives to support the growth of strategic public-private endeavors to help build a strong and resilient economy.
The technical service providers for the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Ghana Link Network Services Limited, has signed a memorandum of understanding with its Korea partners, Customs Unipass International Agency, KUPIA. The MOU is aimed at enhancing the partnership between the two companies to effectively work to better the clearance not only at Ghanaian ports but other ports within Africa. The partnership, according to Ghana Link, is to enable it to expand its frontiers into other African countries to help in not just enhancing revenue generation but ensuring a smooth clearance system within African ports. The chairman of Ghana Link, Nick Danso AJ, in his remarks noted that so far the ICUMS system being implemented at Ghana's ports is one that all stakeholders have come to accept as the best and effective system in terms of cost savings, speed and transparency, among others. He noted that an agreement has since been signed with the Gambia to implement its national single window program to enhance the clearance of goods and services at its ports.
That from here we are going to Gambia, we are developing it. We shall help transform the international trade landscape for our sub-region and continent as a whole.
The chairman of KUPIA, Kim Yong-shek, who led the Korea delegation to Ghana, on his part noted that the signing of the agreement with Ghana Link means a lot to KUPIA because it affords them a new future. He was full of praise for Ghana Link for taking up initiative to break the frontiers and expand its services to other countries in Africa. In a related development, the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Reverend Emishadai Owusu-Amoah, has heaped praises on the newly introduced e-auction module of the Integrated Customs Management System, ICUMS. According to the Commissioner General, revenue generated from the auction of cars and goods through the e-auction platform has surpassed the authority's target.
The first one we did, the reserve price, we got above the reserve price by 6.8%. The next one we did, we got above the reserve price in two total items by 13%. And then the very last one that we did recently, we got above the reserve price by 30%.
On his part, Chairman Kim Yong-shek promised to work hand in hand with the authority to add more modules to improve on the ICUMS. Meanwhile, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Kojo Tremantin, has called for continuous improvement and upgrade of the ICUMS systems being implemented at the country's ports for revenue collection to make it more robust and flexible to enhance its efficiency and effectiveness. He made this known when the delegation paid a working visit to his office. The ICUMS system, he said, would help improve trade facilitation and aid the country to meet the changing dynamics of trade facilitation in the world.
When we finally fully launched the project, we were convinced that it would improve first revenue mobilization, secondly also the efficiency in terms of trade facilitation, moving goods in and out of our ports and our borders.
It's now time for some international port and maritime news. Fitch Ratings says the container shipping industry is likely to see significantly weaker profits next year as freight rates continue to normalize. Container freight rates have fallen sharply with supply chain pressure easing, which will lead to a weaker 2023 for liner operators compared to the past 3 years of the pandemic, the ratings agency said. Fitch Ratings said the main risk for the segment include a potential harsher than expected recession and a continuation of pandemic-related lockdowns in China, leading to further weakness in demand and manufacturing. The National Retail Federation says U.S. container ports are headed into their winter lull as holiday season nears the finish line and retail imports continue to wind down. An earlier than normal holiday shipping season this year means most holiday merchandise is already on store shelves and in warehouse, resulting in December cargo volumes at the nation's major container ports that are likely to be significantly below records set earlier this year. Now, schedules of vessels in the port, those at anchorage and those expected in the coming week, plus the Bank of Ghana exchange rate you need to know to clear your goods from the ports next. It's now time for the word of the day. A jetty is a structure that is perpendicular or at an angle to the shoreline to which a vessel is secured for the purpose of loading and unloading cargo. We have your comments coming up next.
Good evening, I am Erasmus Philippa Holu from the Research and Education Subcommittee of Greater Accra Shipper Committee. The problem with the fishing industry has mainly been lack of consistent monitoring and effective follow-ups. We have always considered the fishing industry to be for lesser educated crew and are looked down upon, unlike in the Iranian, UAE and other waters where the fishing activities are monitored by devices. So a fishing vessel engaged in illegal fishing operations can be detected with the click of a button. Joseph Oliver Bowers from Spintex says, I feel the owners or managers of the fishing vessels are not committed to check safety, health, environmental quality at all. We do not always need to wait for the regulator to whip us before doing what is right. I believe the association must always up their game by checking their members.
So this is where we draw the curtain on this week's edition of Eye on Port. Thank you for watching and thanks to the entire crew. Join us same time next week.